Hi, I'm Musar, and today I want to talk to you about customized hotkeys using Mac OS X. If you're a PC user, this video might not be super helpful, but there are some concepts in here that might be applicable if you use a program called Auto Hotkey, which I'll include a link to in the description below. But for everyone who uses Mac products, this will hopefully be illuminating, and if it's not, if you already know how to do this, you can just, hopefully take a new idea from it and see if you can, come up with your own, or if you've already come up with your own, just drop a couple ideas in the chat, because I would love to be used this more. So if I hop over here to the desktop, you can see I have a little loop here using a sample I made a while back. If I turn off all the processing, it sounds kind of boring. Sounds kind of plain, but if I turn off the big processing rack, or turn on, the big processing rack, I really like that hit right there. But as you can hear, if I just start from that note, it doesn't quite sound the same. It's because of the transient shaper here that I'm feeding an external input so that it doesn't deal with all this processing as a as a sound source. But let's say I like this and I want to do more with it. Let's say I want to do something called resampling, where I record it out as a new audio file and then further process it as audio, like, time stretch it or put it into a sampler or do whatever to it. Maybe I have a limitation on my CPU usage and I need to get rid of all these effects because they're eating up my CPU, whatever. In other DAWs, you would have the ability to maybe bounce a sound in place and replace it with the new baked-in effect chain or whatever you were working with. Ableton doesn't have that. There is a Max for Live device that can kind of imitate that effect, but for now, all we really have are the commands freeze track, which does this. You can see we get this nice tint on the channel. You can see this hashed segment of the audio, or of the MIDI track right here, which shows the tail of the audio. You can actually go in and play with that directly. Like if I turn this off, you can see that there's a bit of a tail there. If I take this, move it over, you actually get access to that as a separate audio file. Well, this is still usable. I can go back and I can unfreeze this, and all of a sudden I have the MIDI information back. But if I want to use just the audio, I could right-click freeze and then right-click flatten, and all of a sudden I get the contiguous audio file with all the processing baked in. I can do things like clean up the timing on this, maybe make this first hit happen right on the downbeat, maybe move some of these hits around so that they have a bit different of a phrasing, maybe take like this last hit right here and use that as a new sampler track for an instrument or whatever. Lots of ideas, but that takes, for me at least, a lot of extra clicking. I like to use hotkeys. I like to use my keyboard more than anything else on my computer while I'm making music. That's kind of why I have this little hotkey key command viewfinder right here, so you can see what I'm doing while I'm doing it. But there are no commands for freeze and flatten. If I go up here, I can actually see that there are some commands here, but there aren't originally. And that will get into what the bulk of this video is about. If we go up here to the Mac system preferences, we go over here to keyboard, and then we click on shortcuts, we actually have a bunch of both OS X specific and app specific, that's what this app shortcuts down here is for, hotkey commands. You can see there are things to play with the display, to enable modes, to move things around, to do certain commands, etc., to even do things like zooming, like I have this magnifying glass on and stuff. But if I go to app shortcuts, you can see I actually have two separate groups here. I have the show help menu hotkey set to shift command /, which just means that no matter which DAW I'm in, I can do shift command /, and it brings up this help menu right here, so I can go in and search for freeze and track, flatten, all that stuff. It's very useful, get the manual, etc., etc. Works in pretty much every program. But I have some specific commands for Ableton, specifically in this case, the Ableton Live 10.1 beta, which is what I use because a lot of my projects have been on the beta and I'm just too lazy to switch back to the stable version. But as you can see, I have 3 commands here. I have flatten, extract grooves, and freeze track. Extract grooves is just another command in Ableton to take a MIDI or an audio file and transition the transient information into some form of basically a groove file, which allows you to have a consistent amount of swing or variance in the sound as you apply it to different parts of your track. If I go ahead and delete these 2 right here and go back to Ableton and go down here to edit, you can see now that under freeze track and flatten, there are no hotkeys there where there were before. This is one of the things that Mac has as a really cool feature that I really enjoy. And, you know, right-clicking, freeze, and flatten, that's not too bad. That's a total of 4 actions: right-click, freeze, right-click, flatten. But what if I want to go just a hair faster? I can go back to that menu. I can add a new command, select the program, either do all applications or just select my specific program. And then I have to find the exact name of the menu command that I want to use. I want to go in here. I want to note things such as, if I look here for deactivate, activate clips, you can see that it's already pre-mapped to 0, but if there wasn't a key command there, I would have to know to capitalize the D in deactivate, to have a / with no spaces between the 2 words, have a capital A for activate, a capital C for clips, a space between activate and clip, and then a parentheses around the S. If I don't get that exactly right, the command won't work. So what we want is capital F freeze, a space, and then capital T track. And then just a capital F flatten for the other command. So I'm going to do freeze track, enter it exactly the way it is in the menu command, or the menu list, excuse me. And then the keyboard shortcut, I'm just picking something that is very rarely used inside of Ableton. You don't often use the brackets. You can see them popping up here with the command sign going left to right. So what I'm going to do is just do command left bracket. Nice and simple. Now, in Ableton, if you're trying to use this exact workflow for yourself, you have 2 options at this point. You can either have the same key command do 2 separate roles, because you can't flatten a track that hasn't already been frozen. So what you could do is go flatten and command left bracket again. I personally don't like that. I feel like it can lead to maybe some errors. It can lead to maybe some missed key presses. You don't want to be in a situation where you're trying to freeze a bunch of tracks just to save on some CPU, and then you accidentally flatten a track that you had meant to freeze. Then you have to undo a whole lot of extra bullshit. So just for the sake of separating the ideas, I used command right bracket. So now, where before I had to right click, freeze, wait, right click, flatten, wait, good to go, I can just command left click, command right click. My hands never left my keyboard. I can go back and I can do even more just in the keyboard view, playing around with different sections of the display. It's just a very, very fast way of working. And it's my preferred way of engaging with, all the different menu commands. The more I find myself clicking to find something, such as extracting a groove or doing something like turning on track delay or the crossfader. Anytime you see something here that does not have a command, like convert harmony to new MIDI track, maybe we could do, is there anything that's Command Shift H? I don't believe so. I don't believe there is anything Command Shift H yet. So let's try that. Let's try a new command. Instead of having to convert harmony to MIDI track here and create, or here in the context menu, let's go back here. Let's look at the exact wording real quick. The exact wording. Convert harmony to new MIDI track. capitalize the first letter of every word except two, and then all caps MIDI. System preferences, keyboard, shortcuts, app shortcuts, Ableton Live 10.1. I just want to double check real quick. It's convert. That's what we want to use. Convert harmony to new MIDI track. Let's do Command Shift H. No, Command Shift H, excuse me, because Command Shift G is extract grooves. And so let's Command Shift H. Now we have a new harmony track. Very avant-garde, very neoclassical, but not super usable. But if we go up here to create, you can see convert harmony to MIDI track has now been given its own brand new key command. Really, really fun, quick and easy way of playing around with different hotkeys. This can work for any program that you have, as long as, again, you make sure to select the right program and get the command name exactly correct, including case, including spacing, and including special characters. Hopefully this was helpful for you. If you have any questions about this, please leave a comment in the little thing below this video. I want to say thank you all so much for watching this. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All that fun stuff. That's really about it for this video. Hopefully it was helpful. And yeah, enjoy your creating.